talking about knowledge, and part of knowledge is actually preparing yourself to go through and start something in the process. It's the beginning of a plan, sometimes it's the middle of a plan as you go through, and sometimes it's adaptive planning as you go through. A business plan, there's 9 different major components to it. They range in size from 14 pages to 54 pages as you go through, and it depends who your audience is as you go through. If you're going to be asking for a loan from a bank, you need to sit down and have a really detailed analysis of your business plans as you go through. We even have to have 3 years of budget projections as you go through. But a lot of times, a business plan, when you stick rigidly by it, sometimes you'll miss opportunities and sometimes you'll damage your pathway as you go through. The plan itself can be misleading. And if it's something new, even if it's a franchise, which is pretty much very prescriptive, when you purchase a franchise, there's no proven formula for success. You may buy a franchise that works well in one state, and then you come to this other state over here, and you find that there's so many problems with it. It's a new franchise, they have 5 stores in the other state, and your area, it's not working. Their marketing method is mediocre, and it's only working in their area because it's rural as you go through, or doesn't have all the different activities that you have, or the competition that you have. The formula that's prescriptive in the business plan doesn't always apply, and it's based on certain assumptions, which may not be accurate where you're at. Sometimes it's a ready, aim, fire approach. I have this business plan. Here's my target market. Ready, aim, fire. And sometimes you're just fighting for survival, hoping to hit that break-even point. It's ready, fire, aim as you go through. There's a conventional research combined with real-world interaction. Here's your plan. And there is a real world interaction, observation, experimentation, and research through selling in the process as you go through. Provide a framework to launch. When I advise somebody to prepare for a job interview, I tell them to make up questions they think the interview committee will ask. We know they will not ask questions. So why do I give this advice? Because some of the questions that you make up, you know darn well they're not going to ask, but it prepares the head. It prepares us to be ready to be asked the questions. Typically, on a job interview, they're going to ask you 12 questions as you go through. You need to have 24 to 36 questions, and you have no idea where they're coming from. But just the fact that you're prepared to sit down and have this over here, means if you get blindsided, it would be kind of shocking, because even if they tell you this question combined with this one, if you already know the answer or your own mindset, how you're going to respond to it, you're prepared and you're much more comfortable as you go through. The same thing with you and your business and getting the mindset ready as you go through. It's research and planning for success. Too much planning can blind us to unexpected opportunities, but that's where we sit there and learn, and we have an opportunistic adaptation. Here's this. Look at this over here, and you go this pathway over here because you're looking to see, here's an opportunity. I'm going to adapt my plan and go this direction as you go through. A lot of research. You want to find out who, what, how, and why. A franchise, if you purchase a franchise, can teach you the in and outs of the market. The 10,000 hour factor, if you don't have a franchise, it'll give you the expertise. If you have both, you may do super successful as you go through. Both models, a franchise model or that 10,000 hours experience, will help you be successful in your field as you go through. A lot of times your toolbox as you go through in market research, it's research versus market intelligence as you go through. Sometimes you have different types of studies in the process. If the research, if you need to have research, I recommend you take a research class, Entrepreneurship 212. But that being said, you have primary research where you conduct the research yourself of people in the area. Let's say on a focus group, you get a group of people, 10 to 12 people together, you have a pizza, you pay them $50, have them spend 2 hours. You're going to learn an awful lot when you pitch your service or your product to them, saying, this is what I plan on doing. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Get their input. Or you go what we call a secondary study as you go through and go on the internet and try to find related questions or topics that pertain to your topic as you go through. Start taking your research and adapting it as you go through. The secondary research, the stuff you find online, that'll help you as well. But really, the focus group idea, get out and go visit your competitors as you go through. Look on the data that your county and state has, what we call ethnography, and see who lives there as you go through. You know what, if you have a bakery as you go through, you pay attention to what kind of food the local population eats. Do you have people that really like to have thick, high-calorie products as you go through? If that's the market, pay attention to it. Do you have people that come from a culture where they're primarily vegetarian and they don't have eggs in any of their bakery as you go through? Pay attention to that as well. See what your market is like out there in the process. Pay attention to all the different ways. Have concept tests, have market tests, have samples of your product, have samples of your service, get people's response to them. Find out what you think is going to work in your market in the process of really adaptation to taking your product or service to the market. Identify, articulate the problem in research. Create research questions, evaluate research techniques, and then design the research to ask questions. You're doing all of these things to gain knowledge as you go through. If knowledge is critical to you, if you're new to the market, spend the time doing the research before you dive into it. If you have that 10,000 hours of experience, add this on top of that, that's going to really help you. If you have a franchise, study the components of your franchise as you go to. Learn by doing. A lot of times, the ready, fire, aim approach actually works sometimes in the world of being an entrepreneur as you go through. Learn, experience, grow as you go through. Real world interaction, experimentation. Sometimes a lot of learning is the barrier for experimentation, and you need to overcome that as you go through. Sometimes we need to pivot and redefine our objectives as we go through. And sometimes informal learning, yeah, this is from a college professor, is almost better than classroom learning as you go through. Listen, observe, see what's out there as you go through, keep your eyes open, get mentored by people that really know what's going on. You ever sit and watch people at a shopping center, an airport, or lobby? And you go and you look and you watch them. Sometimes behavior can shift the pivot in the moment on an unexpected circumstance as you go through, just like an entrepreneur. Watch people, study them, get involved in adaptive planning. Watch them in the process, see where they're going, and see from their behavior where you're going as well. Knowledge and adaptive planning. Take care.